Vegetarianism was practiced in some religious and philosophical circles in the first century. Apparently, it was also practiced by some of the early Christians. It was a discipline like keeping the Sabbath or eating kosher. Some members of the Jesus movement believed they should live according to the regulations and disciplines of religious law. Others believed that in Christ they were free from those regulations. There's a lot of controversy over whether Christ came to fulfill the law or get rid of it, right? And thus, one more Christian controversy arose, which Paul addressed in this letter to the church in Rome. His point was that being judgmental is the problem, not the eating. Vegetarians and eaters of anything have the same motivation, to show devotion to God. So it's all good. Of course, Paul couldn't help but make a judgment himself, calling regulation-bound believers weak in the faith and freedom eaters strong. But, as my preaching professor said, never preach a sermon that you don't need to hear. Go, Paul. This passage brought to mind the photos of church marquees that are posted on Facebook. You see some of these. The ones with lists of sinners that need not come through the front door. Fornicators, adulterers, gays, bikers, liberals, vegetarians. These things are listed on the marquee. Now I know where they substantiate the idea that vegetarians are sinners. From Paul, who says they're weak in the faith. Of course, they've completely misunderstood the text, as usual. And the meaning of the text really is quit judging, right? Judging others. I don't mind that Sylvie likes sushi. I don't have to eat it, she can like it, right? So, of course, being a liberal church here, fornicators, adulterers, gays, bikers, liberals, and vegetarians are all welcome. Along with Midwestern prudes, Husky-Qs, straights, gas-guzzling minivan drivers, conservatives, and those who eat anything and everything. You're all welcome here. But that doesn't mean we don't have opinions and that we don't express them. And it certainly doesn't mean that we don't have some work to do on our judgmentalism. Right? This is a sermon I need to hear. There's a mom at Peter's school who has a home business selling vitamin-fortified organic juice drinks for kids. Great. When our kids have play dates and I pull out my Gatorade, she suggests I check out her line of organic juices. I feel totally inadequate as a mother. And in response, I find myself dismissing her as a vitamin pusher and health Nazi. Politely refusing to even try her products. Who is the more righteous mother here, I wonder? There's work to do. But then there are corporations like Monsanto, and you have a handout in your hand, okay? Corporations which now have all the rights and responsibilities of personhood. These are pretty interesting people, I'll tell you, who are selling mothers and other vulnerable people biologically manipulated food. I have an opinion about this. Okay, let me describe Monsanto. Monsanto Company is a publicly traded American multinational agrochemical and agricultural biotechnology corporation headquartered in St. Louis, Missouri. It's a leading producer of genetically engineered, GE, seed, and of the herbicide glyphosate, which it markets under the Roundup brand. How many of you use Roundup? Okay, they make those chemicals. Founded in 1901, they're early. By the 1940s, Monsanto was a major producer of plastics, polystyrene, synthetic fibers, and notable achievements by Monsanto and its scientists as a chemical company included breakthrough research on catalytic asymmetric hydrogenation, and being the first company to mass produce light-emitting diodes, LEDs. The company also formerly manufactured controversial products such as insecticide DDT, PCBs, Agent Orange, and recombinant GMOs. And it is perfectly ethical to sell GMOs to human persons for their consumption. This is their motto right now. And I have some opinions about that. Maybe my health Nazi is gaining strength here. Perhaps I have some lingering suspicions about a company that would manufacture Agent Orange, which has affected my uncle's health for years as he was in the Air Force in Vietnam and got exposed to Agent Orange. An article caught my eye yesterday that pretty much sums up my revulsion for the company and its products. And the article was entitled, "Is Monsanto Admitting Guilt in Zombie GMO Wheat Settlement?" Zombie GMO wheat settlement. So the article started this way. News emerged this week about a possible settlement between Monsanto and the farmers whose wheat was allegedly contaminated by unauthorized genetically modified seeds produced by the biotech firm. The biotech brouhaha, I love that phrase. Chris, you can use that somewhere in the Times, right? The biotech brouhaha started.
Your brouhaha gains points right away.
Absolutely. That and the words hugger mugger, which have their own. Anyway, biotech brouhaha started in 2013 when an Oregon farmer noticed wheat growing in a fallow field. When he sprayed the suspicious wheat with the pesticide Roundup and checked back on the plants a while later, he was puzzled that the wheat hadn't died. Monsanto has for years been developing a Roundup-resistant wheat seed, but it isn't approved for commercial use. The genetically engineered wheat is one of the only commodity crops not authorized for sale or human consumption, though Monsanto has publicly stated its plans to continue researching ways of introducing GE wheat to the U.S. market. Meanwhile, the zombie wheat case in Oregon spooked export markets, and GMO-wary Japan and South Korea halted U.S. wheat imports, causing a temporary price drop for farmers. Okay? So this is affecting wider than just that Oregon field. So, even people who believe in eating anything ought to take notice here. Zombie wheat. Consuming wheat that will not die can have serious health consequences for mortals. I've taken the liberty of printing out a flyer from the Organic Consumers Association that explains the dangers of GMOs. That's in your bulletin. It lists some of the things the corporation doesn't want you to know and gives us some actions we might take to defend ourselves from their practices. The Monsanto website has numerous counters to these claims that their GMOs are dangerous. They even declare that their scientific methods are based on the science of genetics taught in primary schools today. Nobody's smiling. The science of genetics taught in primary schools today. How many of you learned genetics in primary school? Okay. You did? No. It's got to be harmless if it's taught to children, right? I'd say this claim is right up there with the idea that guns are harmless if you teach children how to use them. And we know what happened with that a month ago. Some might say that the Organic Consumers Association is an alliance of health Nazis, making us feel guilty about eating without checking labels. My intuition tells me that they're actually watchdogs, attempting to protect us from harmful genetically manipulated zombie veggies. And I'm going to have to side with them in this modern day controversy, no matter what St. Paul says about judgment. Having been raised with an awareness of toxins in the environment, experienced the pain in my lungs on LA smoggy days growing up. Do you remember this? Yeah. Couldn't go swimming because you'd come out and not be able to breathe. Having 6 family members with cancer and 3 experiencing neurological disintegration, I'd say we have something to worry about when it comes to experimenting with the laws of nature. Perhaps erring on the side of caution when it comes to genetic engineering is a good choice. It may not be convenient, and it certainly isn't an exclusively Christian practice, but I think God might approve. My God. And by God, I'm referring to that which brought the universe into being and created the laws of physics and biology and doesn't let those laws messed with. Global warming, for instance. Paul, who had no clue that GMOs exist. Can you imagine if he knew that was coming? How different the Bible would be? He was onto something about human coexistence when he said, "Those who eat must not despise those who abstain, and those who abstain must not pass judgment on those who eat, for God has welcomed them." But in our time, we might have to add to this text. In these days, we must pass judgment on those who provide food that is harmful to human bodies, bodies made in the image of God. We must put a halt to the behavior of corporations that practice dangerous science on the lives of plants and animals, acting as if they are God. There is only one God, and Monsanto is not it. Of course, knowing our kind, humans who have a tendency for liberalism, this text would then be taken to the next level and all science would be banned. Even science in service to the healing arts and technological innovation. So it's just as well that Paul left his text as it is, as vegetarianism is showing up on church marquees even to this day. But as thinking and discerning non-literal Christians, we might see the difference and act in defense of human and plant life on behalf of the laws of nature, which are really God's rule book. Let us eat whatever we choose to eat, but be aware of who made what we are eating, so we can choose wisely for ourselves and our children. Choose life.